Let me show you a 20-minute trader pattern trade in the stock market. These graphs contain two lines warming across the screen. The red line is the famous Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the blue line is any tech stock that has good fundamentals and is in the price range of $100 to $600 for its share price. These graphs are showing the value changes every 1 second or so. The real-time graphical observation of what is occurring with the Dow Jones and the tech stock share price displayed together so I can see the relationship between the two. I've mentioned the Jack of Diamonds signal in other videos and publications. It's the concept that the share price of this tech stock drops a little like the beginning of a J and then jumps up a bit more like the end of a J. The signal that we're looking for comes right before the second half of the J. So when I see the Dow Jones and the tech stock dropping simultaneously in unison, and then I see the Dow break away and jump up for a little more than a small blip while the tech stock continues down or goes level, I consider that indicates a likely follow-up rise of this tech stock. And in the last 3 years, this has worked 75% of the time. There are a few other things to pay attention to, but in essence, that is the totality of how I have been able to buy here in the middle of the J and sell it right after it jumps up along the end of the J. My usual in and out time is about 1.5 minutes from the point of purchase to sell. Sometimes it's in for as much as 10 minutes, but not usually. My money remains uninvested for the other 23 hours and 50 or so minutes of the day, totally safe against market collapses. And as a testament to that, on February 23rd, 2022, when the market took a huge nosedive, I played this very pattern and made $961 in a matter of minutes before the entire market fell off a cliff. The pattern obediently displayed itself despite the forces of geopolitical eruptions and financial blizzards pushing down on the market, and I was able to capitalize on it. Now, I invite any official regulator, stock expert, or consumer protection agent to verify my statements and look at my actual account. Now, it's early spring 2022 as I make this video, and this is what my 20-minute trader account looks like at the moment. So as you can see, I'm tapping on the Power E-Trade app here, Face ID. You can't fudge this. This is the real deal. This is my account summary. As you can see, YTD means year to date. That means since January 1st, 2022. That's my account summary right there at 15,000, over 15,000. Year to date is over 8,000. Well, that automatically shows you that I'm at roughly 100% profit since the beginning of the year. And that was during a very bearish market. I mean, the market has collapsed by 15 or more percent at different times since the beginning of this year. And I've been able to actually do this during that time. This is not a fake account. You're looking at my actual account that I just logged into with my Face ID. As I said, I've taught this method to close to 10,000 people so far. I had an unusual introduction to this field in that I have zero training of any formal nature. I've never done any classes or schools in the subject of stock trading or trading techniques, but I happen to find a pattern that I can predict, and I teach others. It's a very short pattern, seconds or a couple of minutes long, usually only a few minutes into the market open. I can say that stock is about to jump up a little bit, and then I can easily buy right before it does, and stock goes up and I sell. When you think about this, you say, well, I guess you need lots of money to be able to make any significant gains. That of course makes sense, unless you use this little trick I've got up my sleeve. Let me show you some simple numbers, okay? If ABC stock is $150 a share, and you buy 10 shares for $1,500, and the share price goes up $1 to $151 a share, then you get 10 bucks. Investing $1,500 to make 10 bucks. Not that amazing. What if I told you you could have 300 shares of that same stock for only $1,500? So then when it goes up $1, you make 300 instead of 10. That's not possible, you say. 300 shares at $150 a share is $45,000. You would argue that you need $45K to make $300 when the share price jumps by $1. Well, there's a special instrument called stock options in which you can essentially rent 300 shares for only $1,500 and get the profits or losses connected with the stock price change if you had 300 shares. This means that if the share price goes up by $1, you make $300, just as if you yourself owned 300 shares of the stock. Normally, it would cost $45,000 for 300 shares of a stock that is valued at $150 a share, because 300 times 150 is 45,000. Instead, what I do is I rent 300 shares for only $1,500, and when the price of the stock goes up by $1, I make $300. Now, $300 is 20% of $1,500, 20% profit. Now you're starting to see the magic of stock options. The details of how this works can be confusing, but I'm using this rental concept to make it easier to understand. Don't get dizzy, don't freak out. I'm an expert at teaching stock market for dummies and stock options for dimwits. I've been educating people for 22 years on different subjects as my profession and my passion. I can make this abstract concept easy to understand and use, and I do. Now, there's a danger in these stock options, because if that share price drops by $1, well, then you're set to lose $300 of your $1,500. The secret is knowing when it's going to jump up, even if only a little bit. I currently have about $15,000 in my account, as you saw, but I'm making an average of $350 a day using this method. Now, pretty soon that average is likely to go up to $800 or $900 a day. As the account compounds, then the amount I would make per day on average would go up, provided this system continues to work. Again, I invite a financial expert to come in and audit my statements and look at the actual orders I placed in my brokerage account. You may ask, Jeremy, why are you wasting your time talking about this rather than just sitting there and printing money for yourself and your family and not worrying about other people learning this? Well, as I told you earlier, I'm an educator. Do you think I got into the field of educating others for the amazing salaries connected with that field? I'd love for hardworking people to be able to take advantage of this hack that only takes a few minutes a day before they take their kids to school or go to work and profit from it. It always amazes me when people ask me that question about helping others. They must not know the joy of helping. I would almost argue that those who help others are actually more selfish than those who do not, because those who help others are always way happier than those who just help themselves. And if you don't believe me, you need to watch some TED Talks or something on the subject of happiness and well-being, or just try a random act of kindness for someone and see how you feel. I asked myself, how long will this pattern continue to generate profits? Will this pattern disappear? I got so curious about the answer to this that I actually hired a programmer to build a time machine for me and install a flux capacitor and take me back in time to see if these patterns existed. By the way, 1-second graphs of the Dow Jones Industrial Average and tech stocks going way back are not readily available anywhere that I could find. So I actually had to purchase the data from the New York Stock Exchange of what the values were for every single second from now back to the beginning of 2018. And there was about 23,400 a day, which is almost 24 million in total for the 4 years. And I had to plug these into this time machine simulator that recreated the second-to-second motions of the past. And then I was able to see if that pattern was there from early 2018 to 2022. It was there the whole time. I believe that pattern has been there for decades, but it wasn't until the at-home retail trader like myself could see 1-second graphs on a laptop and perform trades with the flick of a thumb that we normal people could take advantage of it. The technology to be able to do that is really new, and with millions of people now all staring at the stock market, someone was bound to notice something about it that people never noticed before. The sheer probability and likelihood of that makes it almost guaranteed that something like this would be discovered. Especially someone who's had no traffic of any sort or no education or involvement in this area. A fresh set of eyes on the subject. I had never bought a single stock or anything before the age of 41. I'm an artist, I'm an educator, I'm an athlete and a project manager, and most newly a father. I just happened to be watching the stock market every day for about a month, simply because the person I was living with was playing with stocks and got me to buy my first stock, and I couldn't help but want to watch it. I was between jobs, so I actually had nothing better to do. And by the way, I was not looking for a pattern. I feel like it was waving at me, telling me it was there. And then I tested myself on being able to predict this little jump, and I was right almost every day. It was then that I looked into and asked around about best ways to make money with it, and options seemed like the smartest way to go about it. So a friend of mine taught me about them and I tested it out and made considerable gains right away and since then. Naturally, I went and told my friends. I taught them. They did great. They told their friends. Their friends called me up. Next thing I know, I'm making videos just so that I can answer the floods of calls and requests that I'm getting to teach people this method. And that is the story of the 20-Minute Trader. The course I put together is called the 20-Minute Trader Masterclass, and it is available by clicking the link below. You'll be surprised how low the price is, and I hope it's valuable to you.